Hello and welcome to my show Indus Cuisine, and I'm your chef Basim Akhund. We're back with another new episode from the heart of Pakistan. Today's recipes are very interesting and you've heard it right. We're doing two recipes today. Why? Because today we are celebrating Eid. It's not the Eid day, but Eid is basically an Islamic holiday in the country, and Pakistan's also national holiday. On this festive holiday, what families do is they come together and they basically have a lot of cooked meat in different forms, such as barbecue, or otherwise also in other forms such as making it in a wok or in a pan. So we'll be doing two recipes. We're doing a recipe in which we'll be using the offcuts, and we're doing a brain and kidney mixture. It's actually called brain masala with kidney, and then we're also doing barbecue of meat. What are the ingredients for the first recipe? I'll let you know. It's a very easy one. We just have to understand one thing, that when you talk about barbecue in Pakistan and when you're using beef and veal, you need to understand one thing, that we just do not use undercut. We also use other parts of the animal which are particularly hard to cook. For example, this meat, we're actually using the normal meat which comes from the thigh of the animal. If you otherwise think that this meat would cook on the open flame or on coal or on the grill, it would be difficult. But in Pakistan, we use something in the meat and we put it for 6 hours, and the meat gets so soft that if you cook it for 20 minutes on open flame, it gives you the best result and the best flavor. Okay, so now the first recipe is the meat recipe. So what I'll do first is we need to cut the meat into pieces. For that, I'll bring a red board. Why? Because whenever we talk about meat, we talk about a red board, because we do not want cross-contamination. So the board goes over here, and we shall just keep the other one on the back momentarily. What I'll do is I shall just pick up the meat. Over here we have around 1 kilogram of beef, and we will be using all of it. I will just take my knife, cut it like this, and make pieces which will be not too small but not too thick. So I'm basically going to cut the meat like this first. And as you know, if you cook the meat otherwise, it will not get tender. But in Pakistan, we use papita. Papita is basically papaya, and if you squash the papaya or you add the papaya paste in the meat, it basically makes it super soft. It's a natural tenderizer, and we use it a lot. In Pakistan, we use raw papaya, which is green, but only a few chefs share this. And if you know that Pakistan has a very big barbecue culture, over here the chefs or the restaurants which do a high-end barbecue always use a papaya which is ripe. Why? Because the ripe papaya even makes it more faster for the meat to disintegrate and get really soft. So now what you have to do is you need to keep the meat thick. The pieces don't have to be very thin, remember that. But you have to remember one thing, that you have to keep the meat at least 6 hours marinated in this, otherwise you will not get the best result. I'll be keeping the meat a little thick. Why? Because I want bigger botis. Boti means the piece of the beef. As you know that if you will not marinate it for 6 hours with papaya, trust me, even if you cook it for 4 hours, it will not get cooked. It's a pleasure telling everyone that we have something over here which we use in the meat. And if you also know that if you go in the market and you find meat tenderizers, most of the meat tenderizer or the powder is basically made of dry papaya. So why not use the natural most form to get the best result possible? Okay, now I've basically cut everything, and now we have to make a paste for this recipe. So what are the ingredients for this recipe? I'll let you know. For that, you just need a jug over here, and I need to rinse my hands first. Now once you've rinsed your hands, and the reason behind that is to avoid cross-contamination, you will just pick up the meat and transfer it into the plate. Now as you see, I'm not touching the meat. It's not because it's bad or it's dirty. The thing is that I want to avoid cross-contamination, because we will shoot back to back now. I will keep this on the side momentarily, and I will take this because I do not need it anymore for this recipe. The second recipe will be shared with you in the second part of this episode, when I will be making it from A to Z. Okay, the board comes here. Now what I'll do is I shall just start making the marinade. For that, what I need is I need some ginger. I'll take around, remember, because it's 1 kilogram of beef, we will take around 2 tablespoons equivalent of ginger. I will cut it into pieces like this in front of you. And just make it smaller. Why? Because ginger takes time to blend, and transfer it over here. Now when this is done, what I'll do is I shall take around 4 cloves of garlic also. I shall keep it over here and smash them. I've washed the knife and then we shall add it into the processor. Smash it so that when you process it, no piece leaves unturned or it is not processed properly. Transfer all the garlic over here. Keep your knife on the side momentarily. Now take some cinnamon sticks around, you could say something which will fill into a teaspoon. Take some cumin, take some coriander powder, take some red chili powder, take turmeric powder, and then take salt around 1 teaspoon. When this is done, what I'll do is I shall add around a half cup of oil, cooking oil. We'll be using corn oil for this. You can also use soybean oil or olive oil for this recipe. Half a cup of oil goes inside. I'll keep this on the side, and whatever is used stays over here for now. On the other hand, what I'll do is I shall just take a single piece of onion, transfer it over here, and then we will keep this on the side. Now this marinade can be used for any other form of meat also, such as game meat, in which you can also make deer. Okay, now what I'll do is, you can see these are the seeds. I shall just take around 2 tablespoons equivalent of the cooked papaya. Keep it over here. Take the seeds out like this. And now just peel it in front of you. So just take the skin off of the papaya slowly and gradually from your paring knife, and try not wasting much of the fruit. Slowly and gradually will take you a long way, remember that. And this is done. Now what I'll do is I shall just place the papaya over here and process this into a super fine paste with at least half a cup of water also. That is it, not too much, just half a cup of water, and this is done. We'll convert this into a super fine paste, and then we shall tell you what to do next. Once the paste is done, what I'll do is I'll take a bowl now and place all the meat over here. We'll transfer all the beef and now let it marinate for 6 hours after covering it. But obviously we're doing a shoot for you, so we do not have 6 hours, but I'll tell you that this is how it's done. Okay, now what you'll do is you'll transfer all of the paste over here. Slowly and gradually, and try saucing as much as you can because this has all the flavor. And this is done. Now what we'll do is we'll mix it up and leave it for at least 6 hours, but if you can give it 12 hours, that's the best. Trust me, it will be as soft as paper. Now till the time I mix this, we'll go for a short break, and once we're back, we'll tell you how to cook this, and we'll also cook the second recipe for today. Don't go anywhere, keep watching Indus Cuisine. Welcome back. You're watching Indus Cuisine and I'm your chef Basim Akhund. We took a break for half an hour so that I could give it a little bit time so that the meat could settle in with the spices. But remember one thing, please, once again I'm saying, please do not let it rest for half an hour. Let it rest for minimum 6 hours, and the best result would be overnight, which is 12 hours. Now what I'll do is, it is a very simple method. You just have to throw it over the grill. The grill is over here, and let it cook for at least on low heat for 15 minutes each side, and then we will take it out. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll reduce the heat. The heat does not need to be too high, so reduce it. And once it's done, which it is, now we shall just place it on it. Okay, just spread it out. and let it cook without moving it. Once the fat starts coming out of the meat itself, it will start leaving the grill, so you don't have to worry that it will stick to it too much. It will be completely fine. This is how we do a barbecue. There are two ways of doing a barbecue in Pakistan. Either we use the grill, either we use skewers, and we place the meat on it and then we just keep it on open coal also. But because we have a grill over here, we'll do it in the more civilized manner. So once the meat is here, let it cook slowly and do not be too hasty. Now I'll just keep this at the back and then I'll tell you what's the second recipe of today and how we shall cook it. It's a delicious recipe. It's a little, you could say, gravy oriented, and people love it over here. Now what you need to do is firstly take a little bit of oil, take the spatula and start basting it on top. You have to baste it so that the oil hits the grill and it will give a nice smoky flavor. So I'm just dipping it in and applying the oil on top. That's it. Once you're done with this, we will just change the side after 5 minutes. This is done. Now let this cook. It will get a nice smoky flavor. Now coming towards the second recipe. Now we're doing a nice brain and kidney mixture. It's a very local recipe. It has originated from the family dining table or the kitchens in which we've been eating for the longest time we've known. Okay, so what are the ingredients for this recipe? You need around 4 tomatoes and 3 onions, that is it. Then you'll be needing some brain, some kidney. You'll be needing some mint, some coriander, fresh ginger, fresh garlic, oil, salt to taste. You'll be needing some garam masala. You will be needing around some red chili powder. You'll be using cumin, star anise, not that much, just a little. Then you'll be using some cinnamon sticks and coriander powder. That is it. Now we'll make it in a very quick manner. Why? Because we want the best result possible for this recipe. For that, what I'll do is first I'll pick up a pan. The pan doesn't need to be too big. It needs to be a medium-sized one. Why? Because we want to control heat and we'll keep the lid on the side. Now what I'll do is basically I'll pick up some onion. I'll take around 2 onions for now because we need 3 small onions, so we'll do 2 medium-sized onions. I'll increase the heat and add the oil. The oil goes in. We'll be using half a cup of oil, remember that, and you need half a cup for it, not less than this. Why? Because for this recipe you need the oil to be more so that you can fry all the meat. Now I've washed the knife after cutting the meat. What I'll do is I shall just take the root off and we shall finely slice the onion. We need the onion to get brown so that we get the best flavor possible. So I'll just place it over here and we shall just go super close. Once the onions are sliced, I will add them to the hot oil so that they start getting nicely translucent and then followed by getting brown. Slowly and gradually, it will take you a long way. Remember that. Just clean the blade. The oil has come to heat and just transfer everything now. This is done. Now just pick up the roots and throw it on the side and I'll just clean up and then I'll tell you what to do next. So while cleaning up, I also turned the meat over here. As you can see, it's nicely cooked. Remember one thing, I told you when you marinate it for 6 hours, you'll cook it for 15 minutes each side. I gave it 15 minutes because I was cleaning. And then, now what I'll do is the onions are nicely translucent. We'll add a few things to the recipe. We need around 6 pieces of garlic for this recipe. Why? Because garlic will also flavor the meat over here and it will also balance any strong flavor that comes from the offcuts. What I'll do is I shall just place the garlic like this and start pressing it to get the best result possible. The garlic needs to be properly finely squashed, and as you can see, every piece is over here. Finely chop it, pass your knife properly, turn the garlic around and your knife subsequently. When this is done, just clean the blade, pick it up and toss it in. This goes in increase the heat to full and cook it. Till the time it's cooking, what we'll do is we'll take some ginger and we shall just take a little bit for now and finally chop it and add it to the oil so that we can flavor the oil properly. This goes in. Reduce the heat, pick this up and transfer it over here. This is done. Now what do you need to do? You need to mix it up properly now and keep an eye on the meat on the other side also. Now what I need is I need to make, you could say, a spice mix. For that what I'll do is I'll add 3 spices for this, which will be red chilies. Then you'll add some cumin. Then some coriander powder. When this goes in, you will mix it up and give it a lid and let it cook for just a bit. I'll place a lid on top, transfer it over here and take a fresh frying pan. Now the reason behind taking a fresh frying pan is that you need to add water to it first and bring the brain to boil for 2 to 3 minutes. So when the water comes to boil, we shall add the brain and then I'll let you know what to do next. So as you can see, the meat is ready over here. I've kept it over here. Let it rest for at least 5 minutes before eating it, so that gives you the best flavor. If you can just see, it's super soft, tender, ready to eat, ready to enjoy also. But remember one thing, keep it for 6 hours in the marination. Okay, now we'll come towards the completion of the second recipe. You need to put the brain in the water for at least 5 minutes on high heat. Just slowly and gradually transfer it over here. You don't need this anymore. Keep it at the back. Just rinse your hands once and then come back. Okay, when this is done, what I'll do is I'll just add some salt, not too much, just you could say half a teaspoon. Spread out and do not move the brain or it will start breaking. Just shake it up once and shift it over here. Now till the time the brain boils, we need to start with the other things also. Increase the heat over here to medium and now let's get busy. Okay, now we need basically some of the kidney. So what I'll do is I'll keep this at the back, bring the other board in the front and chop the kidney up. Okay, keep all the pieces of the kidney over here and this goes at the back. Whatever you don't need goes at the back, do not mix it. Now what I'll do is I shall just cut it from the center and show it to you. It needs to be super fresh. If it is red and purple, that means it is fresh, and if it is not, please do not use it. Why? Because the flavor will be very bad and it will stink, to be particular. So slowly and gradually cut this. And the charm of barbecue in Pakistan is that we do it in the night time. So we're recording in a way that you can see one recipe in the daylight hours and the second one towards the night hours. You will realize this one more way, because in Pakistan the heat is too much when it's the summers. You cannot function in the day. Why? Because it's almost 41 to 40 degrees daily. So what I'll do now is I shall just slice it like this. Now this knife will be washed again before I use it. So you can always go from vegetable to meat, but not meat to vegetable. Remember that. And you have to be super careful with this concept, because cross-contamination happens when the meat is mixed with the vegetables, but not the vegetable when it goes in the meat. But you have to always remember, read about it a bit, and then you'll understand it in more detail. Just slice it like this in front of you. And this is done. Now what I'll do is, now you can see the onions are nicely brown. I'll just pick this up and transfer it in the oil and cook it for 5 minutes on high heat. So what I'll do is I'll rinse up and then I'll tell you what to do next. Now mix the kidney up and reduce the heat. add around half a teaspoon of salt, and whatever you've used goes at the back. Now I'll give this a lid after mixing it up. And now you will just pick the brain up from here and slowly transfer it. Switch the stove off over here. Pick up the spatula and then just slowly start pressing it like this. You're breaking it with a spatula, that's about it. Turn around. And mix it up. I'll give this a lid and let this cook for 5 minutes. Now till I'm just cooking, what we have to do is we have to make a nice tomato paste which will go in this recipe. So what I'll do is I shall just keep this on the side, pick up around 3 tomatoes. They should be large for this recipe, remember that. We will take our paring knife, take the eye of the tomato out from here. If the tomato is bad, for example like this, don't use it, throw it away. Remember one thing, never, never, ever use something which you will never eat yourself, and never give such things to other people. That's how you can make a restaurant successful. That's how you can make your own food successful in the market. Okay, you don't need the other tomato, it goes in the bin. Now we'll just cut the tomatoes into 4 halves. Toss it in over here. And this is done. Now we'll process this into a fine paste first by placing it over here. Take it off, take the lid off, and transfer all of this over here. This goes in, we don't need this, this goes at the back, and let it rest, do not mix it up. Now what I'll do is I'll take some coriander. We will take the roots also. We've washed the knife, turn around, and finally chop it. When this is done, pick this up, transfer it over here, and increase the heat to full. Now mix it up. And as you can see, we have not added water in this. This will be cooked in the tomatoes and the flavor will eventually then start coming out. Keep the heat super high. And now towards the end, what I'll do is I'll take the ginger, which I kept over here, and finally first slice it like this. Keep it on the side and go super close. A lot of ginger and garlic goes in this recipe, remember that, because that is where the flavor comes from. When this is done, just clean the blade, scoop it up and transfer it over here. We will add a piece of star anise, a whole piece, and just a few pieces of cinnamon. This goes in, and now cook this till all the water evaporates. I'll show you the final look of the recipe once it's cooked. Don't go anywhere, keep watching Indus Cuisine. As you can see, today's recipes are done. We did 2 recipes for you, and as you can see, it's very dark behind us, and Indus Cuisine is never done like this. The reason behind doing it like this is because we did a barbecue, and this is how we cook in the holidays of Eid. We come as a family, we start cooking towards the evening at this hour, and basically we eat at 11 at night. But because I cannot stay here till 11 at night, we are doing it till the time when the sun is completely or almost gone. I'll see you in another episode of Indus Cuisine. Have a wonderful day now, and I hope you like today's recipes. Take care. Bye-bye.